Welcome back to Elite Star Global, the channel where music becomes memory, where voices become monuments, and where stories live long after the final note fades. Tonight, we go somewhere different. We go somewhere raw. What does it cost a boy to become a legend? What does it take, not just vocally, not just physically, but psychologically, emotionally, spiritually, to carry the weight of 15 world tours across 6 continents, millions of screaming fans, and the expectations of an entire classical crossover movement resting on 3 sets of shoulders? Piero Barone, Ignazio Boschetto, Gianluca Ginoble. They were teenagers when the world discovered them. Barely old enough to drive, yet old enough to conquer Carnegie Hall. Old enough to sing for 3 popes. Old enough to fill stadiums in Buenos Aires, Tokyo, and Madrid with audiences who wept at just the sound of their names. But here is what nobody talks about. Here is what gets lost between the curtain calls and the standing ovations. The lights go off. The crowd goes home. And 3 young men are left alone with everything fame asked them to become. Stay with us tonight. Because this story is not just about music. It is about brotherhood under pressure. About identity buried beneath expectation. About 3 souls who were asked to give the world everything, and then asked to do it again the next night, in a different city, in a different language, with the same perfect smile. It began, as most extraordinary things do, with something impossibly simple. The year was 2009. A television studio in Italy. 3 boys, strangers to each other, strangers to stardom, stood together on a stage and opened their mouths. What came out stopped the room. Fans described the moment as the air itself changing, like something sacred had entered the building without warning. Piero, just 15, with a tenor voice that rolled like thunder wrapped in velvet. Ignazio, bright-eyed, 16, whose baritone carried the warmth of 1,000 Sicilian evenings. And Gianluca, 14 years old, whose voice, witnesses recalled, sounded like it had been borrowed from another century entirely. Overnight, the world had a new obsession. And 3 boys had a new life, one they had not quite chosen, one that had chosen them. You could feel it even through the screen, the electricity of something beginning. But what the cameras couldn't capture, what the fan footage couldn't preserve, was the private terror beneath those practiced smiles. Because when you become famous at 14, 15, 16, you don't just gain an audience. You lose something too. Something you cannot name until years later, in a quiet hotel room, somewhere between continents, when you reach for the version of yourself that used to exist and realize, he's not there anymore. By their 3rd world tour, Il Volo had performed for over 2 million people across 4 continents. The reviews were not just glowing, they were reverent. Critics called them generational. Audiences called them miraculous. The Vatican called them back. And yet, somewhere inside that extraordinary machinery of success, something was shifting. Fans who had followed the trio across multiple tours began noticing things, subtle things. A slight tension in the jaw during press interviews. A moment where eye contact between the 3 lingered a beat too long, carrying something unspoken. The way Ignazio would crack a joke at just the right moment, not because it was funny, but because it filled a silence that had grown too heavy. Fame does not arrive alone. It brings with it a peculiar loneliness that is almost impossible to explain to someone who has never experienced it. You are never alone, surrounded always by managers, photographers, fans, journalists. And yet the loneliness is total. Because no one around you actually sees you. They see the voice. They see the performance. They see Il Volo. They do not see Piero at 22, missing a family dinner for the 400th time. They do not see Gianluca standing at a hotel window at 3 in the morning in Mexico City, watching a city that doesn't know his middle name. They do not see Ignazio carrying the weight of being the group's emotional anchor, always the one who kept the atmosphere light, always the one who laughed first, because someone had to. 15 tours. 15 full cycles of airports, rehearsals, performances, press, repeat. Each city a new audience hungry for magic. Each night a demand for perfection. And no one, not a single voice in those millions, ever asked, "How are you, really?" Here is the untold truth that fans feel but rarely speak aloud. When three people share every waking moment for over 15 years, every stage, every tour bus, every soundcheck, every heartbreak, every triumph, the relationship between them becomes something that has no clean name. It is deeper than friendship. More complicated than family. More fragile, in some ways, than either. There were moments on tour, fans who were close to production described this carefully, where the silences between the three men said more than any interview ever captured. Not angry silences. Not cold ones. But the kind of silence that comes from knowing someone so completely that words become insufficient. The kind that comes from years of proximity so intense that even breathing the same air begins to feel like both comfort and cage. Identity, for any young person, is a question. For Piero, Ignazio, and Gianluca, that question was answered before they were old enough to ask it. The world told them who they were. Il Volo. The trio. The three voices. And for 15 years, they stepped inside that definition every night and sang from it with everything they had. But who is Piero Barone when the lights go dark? Who is Gianluca Ginoble when there is no score in his hand? Who is Ignazio Boschetto when the audience has gone home and the hotel corridor is quiet and all that remains is the echo of a man trying to remember what he wanted before the world decided for him? These are not questions the industry asks. These are the questions that famous people ask themselves, alone, at altitudes between cities, somewhere over the Atlantic, with nothing but clouds below and silence above. There is a moment. Reported by fans across multiple tour cities, from Buenos Aires to Rome to Tokyo, that has become something of a legend among those who were there. It happened during a performance of O Sol Mio. Not a particularly unusual song for Il Volo, they had sung it hundreds of times. But on this particular night, something changed. Gianluca's voice cracked, not from failure, but from feeling. A human, unguarded, unpolished moment in the middle of a flawless performance. The arena held its breath. 40,000 people. Silence so complete you could hear your own heartbeat. And then, not polite applause, not the kind that fills awkward gaps, but a roar. A roar that started somewhere in the upper deck and rolled downward like a wave, gathering mass and heat until it was something physical, something you could feel in your chest. Fans described it as the moment Il Volo stopped being a performance and became a confession. The moment the audience stopped being spectators and became witnesses. Because that crack in the voice, that tiny, terrifying human moment, told the truth that 15 years of perfect performances could not. It said, "I am here. I am real. This costs me something. And I give it to you anyway." There were tears in that arena. Not just in the seats. Backstage, crew members who had heard these songs 1,000 times found themselves unable to speak. Because some moments do not ask for your permission before they break you open. The cameras catch the bow. They catch the final note, held past the point of comfort, held until the lungs are almost hollow and the note becomes less sound and more surrender. They catch the bouquets thrown from the audience, the standing ovations, the tears on fans' faces illuminated by phone screens. They do not catch what happens after. The ritual of coming down from a performance is its own private ceremony. The adrenaline does not simply stop. It leaves slowly, like a tide withdrawing, and in its absence there is a flatness that performers rarely discuss publicly but privately describe as one of the loneliest feelings in the world. You have just given everything, every nerve, every breath, every fragment of emotion you possess, to 40,000 people. And now the room is empty. And you are empty. And the silence is enormous. People close to Il Volo's touring productions have described moments where the three men would sit together after a show, not talking, not reviewing the performance, not planning the next city, just sitting. Existing in the same space. Sometimes one of them would start to speak and then stop, because nothing adequate could be said. And so they would simply remain. Three people who understood something about each other that the rest of the world never would. That is the brotherhood that the cameras cannot capture. Not the moments of harmony. Not the synchronized bows or the practiced smiles. But the unglamorous, unperformable act of simply being present for each other in the space where fame ends and humanity begins. By the time Il Volo had completed their 10th tour, something had quietly shifted. Interviews began carrying a different texture. The answers, once polished and predictable, started showing edges. Piero began speaking more carefully about personal space. Gianluca began discussing the importance of solitude, of needing, sometimes, to simply be alone with his own thoughts in a way that touring makes nearly impossible. Ignazio, the most naturally social of the three, began speaking with surprising depth about the difference between being surrounded by people and feeling truly known. These were not complaints. Il Volo has never been a group that performs grievance. But they were signals, quiet, dignified signals from three men who had spent 15 years being exactly what the world asked them to be and who were, at last, beginning to articulate something more complicated than gratitude. The 2026 restructuring, the management changes, the solo whispers, the questions that set the fan community trembling, did not emerge from nowhere. They emerged from 15 years of three human beings navigating one of the most psychologically demanding careers that exists. They emerged from the slow, inevitable weight of fame pressing down on souls that were never designed to carry it alone. And yet, here is what matters. Here is what the headlines miss entirely. They are still here. All three of them. Still singing. Still, in whatever form the future takes, bound to each other by something that 15 tours and 15 years and all the pressure in the world has not been able to dissolve. That is not failure. That is testimony. There is a concert recording, fans know the one, filmed in Rome, during a night that the sky itself seemed to participate in. The Colosseum lit behind them like a cathedral. The crowd filling the space between ancient walls with modern devotion. They sang Nessun Dorma. Not for the first time. Not for the 100th. But on this night, something in the alignment of the three voices, something in the accumulated weight of everything they had carried together, transformed the familiar into the eternal. Piero's tenor climbed. You could feel the effort. You could feel the joy inside the effort. You could feel 15 years of discipline and sacrifice and love for music crystallizing into a single sustained note that hung over the Roman night like something that refused to end. Ignazio's harmony wrapped around it like an embrace. Gianluca's voice rose beneath them both, the foundation, the ground, the thing that made the soaring possible. And for 3 minutes and 47 seconds, approximately 20,000 people forgot their names. They forgot their worries. They forgot the year and the city and the weight of their own lives. They were simply present, inside a sound that was larger than any one of them. That is the power of Il Volo that no psychological toll can erase. That is the thing that survives the loneliness and the pressure and the questions and the years. Music, when it is made at this level, with this kind of sacrifice behind it, does not just entertain. It heals. It reminds us that we are human, that we share something beneath all the noise, that beauty is still possible in a world that has forgotten to look for it. They gave 15 years of themselves to give you 3 minutes of something you will never forget. That is not a transaction. That is a gift. Fame is a strange and heavy thing. It promises everything and keeps only some of what it promises. It elevates and it isolates. It fills arenas and empties souls. It makes you beloved by millions and known by almost no one. Piero Barone, Ignazio Boschetto, and Gianluca Ginoble walked into that strange country as teenagers, and they have navigated it. Imperfectly, humanly, honestly, for 15 years and 15 tours. They have paid for our joy with their privacy. They have paid for our wonder with their youth. They have paid for the music with pieces of themselves that they will never fully recover. And still, when the lights come on and the orchestra swells and the first note leaves a body and fills an arena, something happens that cannot be manufactured or replaced or imitated. Something true. So the next time you watch Il Volo, whether it is a new performance or an old recording, whether it is a stadium concert or a quiet moment with headphones on a late night, listen past the perfection. Listen to what the perfection costs. Listen to the brotherhood that holds together beneath the harmony. Because that is where the real music lives. Not in the notes. In the sacrifice behind the notes. Il Volo gave the world 15 tours. The question we carry forward is simply this. Did the world give enough back? The music doesn't end when the concert does. It lives in everyone who was changed by it. That is how Il Volo becomes immortal. If this story moved you, if you felt something shift inside you while watching, then you already know what Il Volo's music has always known about you, that you are someone who still believes in beauty. Don't lose that. Subscribe to Elite Star Global. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. And leave us a comment below. Tell us, which Il Volo moment will you never forget? We'll see you in the next one.